From the Connections Studio Suites, it's Connections. Connections is relationship radio.
You're dang right about that. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is Connections. I am Melissa Foxx, solo right now. Although I will be joined by others, not with glue, but by others. Thank you for joining me right now, actually. Live on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and some Russian platform that I don't quite understand. Yeah, that would have been a bad idea. Almost knocked the old drink over in the studio with my Italian hands. I'm not even Italian, but I do use my hands a lot. Oh, there it is. The phones. Please mute phones. So anyway, here's the deal. Tonight, I've got a couple of great guests coming on. The first guest is running a few minutes late, which is fine. It really is. Her name is Donna Michaels. D.A. Michaels is the name, the pen name, Le Plus. What do they call that? Nom de Plus. That she goes by. She has written a book about our veterans and PTSD and why they keep killing themselves. We've got to stop that. Also got Dr. Ken Vehec. He's going to join us tonight. And he works with veterans who suffer from PTSD who often don't think they have any options left. So we'll be doing all that tonight, talking about a book that you can check out while we are waiting. Just go to the website courageouslybroken.com. That's the name of the new book. And it's pretty interesting read, actually. Yes. It was released over in Cocoa Beach. So let me tell you a little bit what's going on with me. Hi, how are you? All right, so we just renewed the show for another year. That's Connections, Relationship Radio, with a twist. The twist now is that hashtag Lizzie Said What has left the show. And not on bad terms, by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, a little HIPAA laws aside, she had a health scare. And when it turned out that everything was in the okay direction, thumbs up. She decided that she needed to take a couple of days for herself that she hasn't been. I think she works like 5 jobs. And so with regards to those jobs, she's going to cut it down a little bit. And one of those was a Tuesday, Thursday night thing. So I understand it, respect it, and I know she'll be back anyway because she works for me here at WFLA. So she'll be around. All right. Anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on lately here. With regards to the rest of the show, I know you haven't seen Dr. Klein in a while. Dr. Dave took a hiatus also. Yeah, it was tough. COVID, we made it all the way through COVID, kept everything going, all the sponsorships. Really tough to do that as well when a lot of business were shuttering. And when you close your door like that, it causes problems. But when you keep your door open during a pandemic, it's even harder. And collecting bills and, all the medical stuff that was going on, it was kind of tough. So Stages of Life Medical Center Institute, they pulled away for a while, which is fine. Hopefully Dave will be back. We really love his medical expertise. And frankly, there hasn't been a lot more air in the room since he hasn't been hanging out with us as much, which is fine. It's fine. I like breathing air. It's good stuff. Dr. Vehec, though, is going to be with us later on. And Linda Nunez is still around too, although at the moment she's got her fingers in the bilingual pie, as it were. I don't know how you say pan. That's bread in Spanish. Anyone? Pie? Anywho, she's got some new projects, just moved, things are going on, so she's going to be joining us in the next few weeks. But anyway, the show is regrouping a little bit. As you may have noticed in the last couple of episodes, we've been interviewing different people. Instead of just talking about topics, we've been interviewing authors and such that have things to share with us, like we used to do way back in the day. I mean, this show has been on. It has. It's been on for almost, in this carnation, about 5 years. 4.5, 5 years, okay? Before that, it was something else. It was a little bit more risque, a little bit more X-rated as opposed to PG, which is what I like to do here. By the way, I want to thank you all for following us on the social media. Connections Show, that's the Facebook handle. You can find us at Connections FM on Twitter, and I believe it's Connections Show on YouTube as well. I know we're on there, so anyway. So I do a lot of different shows as well, and having a good time. and a hard time as well. Good time and a hard time because it's different. It's all a new frontier for me. I'm actually having to learn things. And if you know, I'm smart, right? I'm very smart. And I pick things up fast. But, still, it's learning. And it's a lot of learning, not heavy lifting, not this time. And while I'm learning my new job, a lot of people are still like, oh, what happened? Why aren't you on Good Morning Orlando anymore? We miss you. Everything sucks. You're blah, blah, blah. And I appreciate that. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. But here's the deal, guys. There was a ceiling, and I was there. Right there. Just hitting that ceiling. There was really nowhere to go if I stayed just as an executive producer for a radio show. Frankly, I've been an executive producer on and off for 20-some years. Yeah. So the opportunity to move into management and operations is probably a lot better of a situation, I think, folks. Yeah. It's more stability, again, learning. And I've always been a jack of all trades. I can learn just about everything. So it just, makes me more valuable, I think, than I was before. And with that in mind, I have yapped and yapped and yapped, and I still haven't told you about my other shows. I am doing a lot of different shows now. I do the Florida Roundtable, which you can find on iHeartRadio, on the podcast apps as well. Just go ahead to iHeartRadio and search Florida Roundtable. You'll see this green picture with this odd-looking round table. I didn't pick it. I didn't do it. I inherited that show, and I have turned it into something totally different, to be honest with you. Florida Roundtable is now I get 40 requests a day for people to do, to come on and talk with me about what's going on. And did you know that every month is an awareness month for no less than 40 situations? I'm serious. Hearing, eyes, testicular cancer awareness, every month has a ton of them. And so I have to actually pick and choose. Okay, which awareness should we make you aware of this time? Seriously, I had no idea. It's like if you look up the wristbands, the color, the bands with the different colors. If you look on, what do the wristband colors mean? It's ridiculous. And they've gotten it down with 3 different colors intertwined, means this, that, and the other on a given Sunday only. So, anywho, I digress. I've got that, Florida Roundtable. It runs all over Orlando as well as Florida, the whole state. But in Orlando, you can catch it on the weekends, either Saturday night or Sunday morning or Saturday morning. One of those. Just flip around the dial. You'll find me. Got a new real estate show, too. It's for LPT Realty. It's powered by Robert Palmer Funding. Maybe you heard of him, RP Funding. Yeah, I've never actually met the guy. I've been in the same room as him 10,000 times. But we will probably be meeting later on this week. But the real estate show does not run on iHeart here in Orlando. It runs on our competition. And I host it. And that runs Saturday and Sunday afternoons, again, on our competition. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, I got the Money Talk show. That's the Trustco Bank show where we talk about everything that Trustco Bank can do for you. I was surprised. I had no idea that banking could actually be fun. But we do it every Thursday night. And then later on the same night, we have Connections, which is fun, too. So there you have that. It's weird, but I've actually talked myself all the way to the first break. I had no idea what's going to happen, but it did. So with that in mind, like I said, we're going to push a button. Oh, what happened? Why? I have to play radio here. They like to make it just a little difficult for me, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. Here we go. Ready? Here's the music. Woo! All right. You're listening to Connections. Going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. I am Melissa Foxx, flying solo at the moment. When we get back, we will be joined by the author D.A. Michaels. Stay right there. It's Connections.
Write a little letter, I'm gonna mail it to my local DJ.
Connections is Relationship Radio.
Well, hi there. You okay?
Hey there. I am so sorry.
No. It's okay. Don't worry about it. All right. So, actually, we're live on Facebook right now. There's Dr. Ken. Turn your phone sideways,
Hey,
Dr. Ken.
You're sideways.
Yeah, he always does that. All right, and we're going to start this segment. It's a 10-minute segment, and you'll be all right. Hey, turn your phone. You know the deal. I tell you this every time, Kenny.
So are we visual on Facebook?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You look beautiful.
You would never know I've been running crazy.
I know, right? Okay, so hi, Facebook people. All right, we're getting ready to do the second segment. The first segment, I literally talked all to myself. About myself. Well, not just all about myself, but a lot about myself, let's be honest. Okay. So here we go. Stand by. Wrong mouse.
What is wrong with you people? You don't get no better show than this.
This is Connections.
The hair is standing up on the back of my knees.
Live from 10 to midnight.
What a fun bunch they are. I'd love to hang out with them.
Weeknights at 10 Eastern on the Connections Radio Network at connectionsshow.com.
It's a true story. It really is. Welcome back to Connections. I am Melissa Foxx, 2 X's. With me now, Dr. Ken Vehec, our resident psychologist. Hello, sir.
Hello, and also part-time auto mechanic. My radiator hose blew off on the way here.
On the way there? Oh, wow, that's weird. Mine broke last week. But we're not talking about radiator hoses tonight. We are talking about something much, much more important. First of all, here's the hook. Every year, hundreds of first responders and veterans die by suicide. And what is causing it, and how do we stop it? With that in mind, Donna Michaels, a veteran and law enforcement officer, is going to tell us her story of overcoming adversity and conquering the battle scars of life. It's called Courageously Broken. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks.
All right. So
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the tragedy of PTSD and what's going on and why you felt that you needed to write this book, Courageously Broken.
Well, to be quite honest with you, it was a book by accident. I never sat down to write a book. It was actually my diary during therapy when I finally had to come to terms that I needed help. People hear the word PTSD, but there's 2 different kinds. There's like an acute PTSD, and then there's like chronic PTSD, and a lot of first responders struggle with chronic. It's you can push something and it doesn't hurt, but if you keep hitting the same spot over and over and over again every period of time, you're going to develop a bruise and it's going to start to hurt. That's kind of what chronic PTSD is, because it's several traumas over a period of years. And I read a study recently that the average human being will suffer 1 traumatic event in their lifetime. First responders will experience 8,000 in their 20-year career.
Oof.
So because of that, over time, it builds. And that's kind of what happened to me, except that I experienced a acute trauma while I served in the military prior to going into law enforcement. And rather than dealing with that, I just kind of stuffed it in my little black box in the back of my brain and moved on about my life and said, shit happens. Crap happens. People go through things. And then I took on the career of law enforcement. And again, over a period of, in my case, 17 years, I saw a lot of ugly stuff. And on June 1st of 2017, I responded to a drowning call. And I had been to lots of drowning calls. I had seen children die. I had seen horrific things. But there was something about that particular one that was like somebody putting C4 or dynamite on my black box that I had managed to lock all my traumas in and forget about or ignore, for lack of a better word, that blew it up in my brain. And suddenly I couldn't manage it anymore. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was crying all the time. I knew I was in trouble. I was a mental health CIT officer. I mean, this was part of my job. And now I'm looking in the mirror at myself, realizing I'm now one of those people that I'm supposed to help. And I can't even help myself. And it really was hard. And in our career, many of us are afraid for asking for help because we feel like that's the end of our career. They're going to take my gun. They're going to take my badge. PTSD has such a negative stigma that people think, oh, they're crazy. They're dangerous. They're going to go on a mass shooting. That's so not true. So not true. Usually the only person a person with PTSD wants to hurt is themselves, right? They're not known for going out on mass shootings and whatnot. So, long story short, it took from the time of June 1st, 2017 to the time I actually became suicidal because I wasn't sleeping. I was afraid to sleep at night. I was hearing all the mothers' screamings. I was seeing all the faces of those traumatic calls. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was about 4 to 6 weeks. And I got to a point where I was like, felt as though we call them the demons, the negative voices in our heads telling me, if they find out you're going to get fired, you're failing your daughter, you're not even a good mom anymore. Just all these negative, really harsh thoughts. And I sadly came up with a plan, and I put my daughter on a plane and I sent her out of state. And I decided that I was either going to pull the plug on myself or I was going to figure out how to get fixed. It took one phone call, but for the grace of God, to my best friend who answered his phone that day. And as soon as he heard my voice, I just lost it, broke into tears, and I told him the truth. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm contemplating. And he spent 8 hours on the phone with me and talked sense into me and told me that it was okay to ask for help. I told him I didn't trust my employer. I was afraid I would lose my career. He said there's other ways to go about it. Kind of held me by the hand and taught me that there was a quiet, down low way to go about it. And I look back and I go, God, if I'd only known then what I know now, how many resources are really out there that you don't hear about because they don't have the deep marketing pockets like a lot of these big veteran I don't want to name any, but like these huge veteran organizations that have celebrity, endorsements and all that stuff. Right. There's so many really, really good ones that work on a shoestring budget, but do amazing work. And I look back and I go, God, if I'd only known then what I know now, I wouldn't have let myself get that far. Right. But anyway, so COVID, so I got help. I was diarying during therapy at the VA. That's why I ended up going through, because the VA and my employer didn't mix. And I was lucky I had a very good VA. They were helping me and they suggested journaling because I had suppressed so many memories. And it was helping me. And so little by little, I was sharing parts of my journal with my best friend, the same one I called. And he's like, I think you're onto something. You need to keep going. So I did. And in the end, he goes, you need to turn this into a book. And I just laughed. I'm like, you're crazy. I'm like, these are my skeletons in my closet. I'm not going to share that with the public. And he's like, no, seriously, I think you could help people with this. I'm so sorry. No, leave it.
It's okay. We are an animal friendly show. Trust me.
Yeah. Hey, knock it off. My daughter probably just got home. Hey, knock it off. Leave it. No. I know. I hear her. Sam, I'm on an interview. So anyway, where was I?
You were talking about putting the book together?
Yeah.
Skeletons in your closet.
Yeah, skeleton in the closet. And I told him, I said, I don't know. I'm going to have to think this over. March 2020 came around. COVID was in full swing and I got hurt on the job. And I was off, what do you call it? No duty, no work status of any kind. And I couldn't work. My whole right arm was taken out. And so I sat at home with nothing to do. Couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. And then somebody I knew committed suicide.
Oh, no.
And it was hard because the way I found out was his brother texted me from his phone. And I had only talked to him days before he did it. So I was completely blindsided. Mm-hmm. And his brother just wanted to know what we had talked about. And I beat myself up. I'm like, did I miss something? Did I miss a hint? And it was completely unexpected. And I thought about what my best friend said. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. If my story stops one person from committing suicide, it's worth it. So I spent my COVID time while waiting for shoulder surgery to convert my diary into a book. I self-published because none of the publishers were working. And I thought if I sell 10 books, I'll be happy. And then next thing you know, it did well. And here we are a year later, and I've launched, if you can see it, I've launched now. What's happened is my book has done well. I've been doing a lot of interviews. And I've taken it to the next level because now I'm getting public speaking opportunities.
Ah.
So I've started another organization called Heroes United to Heal, or HU2H for short. And what we do is we raise money for all those resources, doing amazing things on shoestring budgets. So I'm a book author, but I'm also running a fundraising organization to raise money to help these organizations that are helping veterans and first responders.
That is fantastic. We are talking to the author, D.A. Michaels, Donna Michaels, a distinguished career, service in the U.S. Navy, 21 years in law enforcement, now retired. And she wrote a book about PTSD, courageously.broken.com for more information. We're going to bring Dr. Ken Vehec into the conversation next. You are listening to Connections Relationship Radio with a twist.
Connections is Relationship Radio.
You're doing okay. All right, so are you all right in there? You got the dogs and
Yeah,
the kid
kiddo came home and rescued me, so I think we're good now.
Okay, Ken, you got some questions here, I hope, for Dr. Ken. You have some questions from Donna, or D.A. Michaels? Yes?
Well, not some questions, but some statements for her. And, I want to thank you for writing the book.
Okay, hang on. Let me get back into the segment. We'll introduce you, and we'll do all this.
Okay.
You know the run. This isn't your first radio show. I'm just
That's
kidding.
why I came here. Now I got it.
You got it? What are we listening to? You okay?
No, that's not it.
All right,
now.
I can hear him. I'm just having trouble hearing her.
me?
Okay.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
It's
right
probably
here.
my connection. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Here we go.
Breakfast time! I made your favorite.
Look, it's a manwich.
That's a manwich.
More than a meal.
What's wrong with the stupid people?
It's like they're idiots or something. Big fat friggin' dumbass idiots.
Connections, broadcasting live every night at 10 Eastern.
Welcome back, Connection Show. Melissa Foxx, along with Dr. Ken Vehec, our resident psychologist, and our special guest tonight, Donna Michaels, the author, D.A. Michaels, the new book, Courageously Broken. Let's get back on the conversation. Dr. Ken, you had a few things you wanted to talk about, to point out about the statements that Donna had made in the last few segments there?
Yes. First of all, Donna, thank you very much. Congratulations on writing the book and having the courage to publish it. There really needs to be a lot more people like yourself that have PTSD that can benefit from that. Journaling is a fantastic way to go about doing things. I worked with Michael White, who was one of the proponents of doing the journaling. So fantastic job on that. I was a doc in the VA system and the vet centers for 15 years, and then 2 years at the main VA.
Thank you for that.
My dissertation was on PTSD. And I also suffer from that because of a missile explosion for a submarine. So know exactly where you're at, and I've been told I should publish as well. So I don't have the focus to do a book, but I do write articles and lectures. I did a lecture called Recovery for All for the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, which the Secretary of the VA was in attendance at that lecture and asked me to produce it and make it available throughout the entire VA, which I did.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Over my career in the VA, I've probably assisted with at least a dozen people not committing suicide actively.
Yes.
Got the phone call, I got the gun to my head or in my mouth, or one guy was trying to do it by cop. He had his whole house was surrounded. And I told him the last thing I want to hear is a gunshot.
Yeah, I've been on those calls. They're horrible because we understand the pain they're in and we don't want it to happen.
Well, on your law enforcement side, I was up in Kansas City when a home invasion went bad. Not that they ever go good, but the police, when they responded, the perps were still in the house and gunfire was exchanged. One of the officers was hit in the head with gunfire, and they found out later it was a ricochet from one of the officers.
Oh.
As you know how bad that affects them. And like yourself,
Absolutely.
go to the psychologist of record for the police department, because then it gets entered in their record and promotions tend to stop, and that's it, the end of their career. So I did front porch therapy with cognac and cigars for about 4 months, and the group dwindled down to just a couple. and everyone went back to work, and has been extremely successful since. And that was 4.5 years ago now.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And they say that's how, I heard a World War II veteran talk about, I believe that PTSD exists, but I don't understand it because my generation never dealt with it. Well, as we all know, they're known as the greatest generation. But then he put it into perspective, and I thought this was interesting. Back in the old days, when they were overseas in combat, they had that long transition back across, the oceans on the ships to do what we would know as group therapy, talk to each other, tell their stories, have a buddy to call out to, rather than just jumping on a plane and coming back and being expected to just filter right back into life as normal. And I thought, and then, alcohol was less frowned upon back then. Cops and firefighters used to be able to go, have their brotherhood time and then the local bar. And of course, all that has gone away. I'm not condoning self-medication, of course, but I think what you just described would be a perfect happy medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to speak to what you just talked about the World War II veterans, they also had the benefit, if you call it a benefit, it took almost a year for them all to get back to the United States because the transport ships weren't there. So they became tourists in Europe, and they got to see the good that they did. So it wasn't like, okay, we're leaving. Like in Vietnam, the transition was 3 days from jungle to your old bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It makes a huge difference.
It really
no
does.
Time to decompress.
So we're talking with Donna Michaels. She just wrote a book that came out is it 2020 it came out, but now it's getting picked up. It's going crazy.
Veterans Day 2020.
Perfect.
November.
You can find it at courageouslybroken.com. It's online, bookstores as well. You know the deal. Amazon, brick and mortar, maybe as well. It's getting there.
Mostly online. Yeah, it's getting there.
We're trying to erase the stigma of PTSD. Donna hopes that we will encourage people, and we hope to encourage people to deal with this and realize that these invisible wounds, there's help. And some of the best help is the smaller organizations, which, if you don't mind, aside from the VA, what other smaller organizations, because I know the big ones, and most of the time I don't care for what they do, but the smaller ones, like I said, the shoestring budget folks, well, put it up there. If you're going to show your breastplate, for God's sakes, the both of you. There you go.
I don't know. It looks backwards on my screen, but it's called Heroes United to Heal. My website is currently under construction. My web designer says it should be up and running by mid-May, I pray. Mm-hmm. But right now, if they go to courageouslybroken.com, I have a temporary menu, as you might say. Mm-hmm. It is eventually going to be split into two. But what I do is I have organizations like Sacred Mountain Retreat in South Dakota, T6, which is in Montana. There's a wonderful one called Okeechobee Outfitters down in South Florida, where they take people on hunting excursions. There's everything from PTSD service dogs, equine therapy, hiking, fishing, and all of them are owned and operated by brothers and sisters who've been there, done that. Right now, I'm working with a woman with Canine Line who is not only a Gold Star wife, but she was deployed when her husband was killed in action. And so she has combat PTSD from her own experiences on top of being deployed in the same combat area where her husband was killed. She's an incredible woman, and she has a service dog of her own. She says she doesn't know where she'd be without it. I feel the same way about my dog, and truly game changers and lifesavers. And so, but our dogs, for everybody, know. I mean, some people swear by the equine therapy. Some people swear by the outdoor retreats. Sacred Mountain is one where they go up and they build like I hate to use AA as an analogy, but it's the only way I know how, but where they go up there and they build bonding relationships among the group that's there. They have mentors and they start to check on each other, and then they do charity projects together, helping a veteran who might be paralyzed or an amputee, and they're constantly working together, and they build this tribe, and they're so there's some really, really good things. And I tell people all the time, and Doc, I want to say thank you for going into the line of work you did, being a veteran yourself, because in my opinion, and many, many others, the only good therapists and docs that understand this are ones who have been there, done that. I've heard so many say they've gone to get help and they've got a therapist who literally fires them as a patient because they can't handle hearing the traumas that the veteran or the first responder, has experienced. And that's sad, so we need a lot more veterans and first responders going into your line of work. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you for that. I started women's groups and family groups as well. And one of the things that I'd like to put out for everybody out there was the advice I gave them on the first day of the first session, which was I explained what PTSD is. And what PTSD is a real condition. It has real manifestations. It has real symptomatology. What it is not an excuse.
Bingo.
And for the person uses the excuse for, it's not that, and you just confront that and back it down and don't tolerate it. So, there are boundaries and limits, but to empower them to say, look, yeah, it is real, but it does have a place, and there are ways to combat it and work your way through it.
Yeah. And I'll admit, I was in total denial for quite a while that I had it because I associated it only with combat.
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend how I had it if I'd never been to combat. And it turns out I've been through a lot and just sucked it up as, it's just part of the job. It's what I signed up for. And it is what it is. But I tell people now, anybody can get PTSD. I mean, as veterans and first responders, we're more prone to it because of what we do. But, human trafficking victims, domestic violence victims, sexual assault victims, the clerk at the bank that got robbed at gunpoint. I mean, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, MST is huge now.
Yeah. Well, that's my veteran. I'm going to be honest with you. That's in the book. That is my military trauma. It's an MST that I never reported.
One of the things that the VA has done now is they're realizing that a lot of the women and some of the men that were discharged because they had MST but didn't tell anybody are now reconsidering their discharges that were general or other than honorable because they just fell out.
Real quick, before anybody says, I figured it out already, MST would be military sexual trauma? Or
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. Unfortunately, that happens a lot more than it will ever be reported. Because
I was a service officer at my VFW, and so far I've processed 8 claims to the different services, a couple of Marine Corps, a few Navy, a couple of Army, to get the discharges upgraded at least to a general under honorable or even up to an honorable based on the MST trauma.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That really is. We're
so
talking.
Can I say something on that real quick?
You can do whatever you want.
It's important to me because I don't want people to hear, if you join the military, you're going to get raped. Because the average statistic is 1 in 4 women are going to be sexually assaulted at some point in their life, whether as a teenager, a college student, or a regular civilian or joining the military. The military numbers mirror the rest of society.
Gotcha.
It's just how it's handled. That's
right.
The big difference.
And again, I'm glad you made that clarification. Yeah, no, it is. We need to take a quick break here. Donna, will you stay with us for another segment?
Absolutely. Be happy to.
We only have one left anyway, so you might as well. We're talking with the author, D.A. Michaels. The book is called Courageously Broken. Remember, knowledge is power. And as Donna says, that in itself is key to understanding PTSD. We will be right back. You're listening to Connections. It's relationship radio with a twist.
Connections is relationship radio.
You ready? Okay, good, because here we go.
Relax. I'm going to move the energy from your thighs to your buttocks now. Now, which one of you doubts my powers?
You, Lieutenant Weinberg.
Are you finished? Are you finished?
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Are you finished? Are you finished?
Welcome back. It's Connections, relationship radio with a twist. I am Melissa Foxx, our resident psychologist and VA man. You're still working on the VA, right? What are you doing? You're taking patients, or just something like that. Yeah.
And W stuff.
Okay. All right. So you're still handling it. Wait, you're cutting it in and out. It happens.
Not me.
Yes, you. Our special guest tonight on Connections, Donna Michaels. Distinguished career in the U.S. Navy, 21 years in law enforcement, now retired, proud mom of a teen daughter, and she's got some hysterically funny dogs. We saw them or heard them earlier today. They're beautiful, though, as well. I saw them running around there.
They are. They get away with murder because they're so sweet.
Well, there you have it. The book is called Courageously Broken. Dr. Ken Vehec, you have seen many patients like Donna. Is that true?
That it would be correct, yes.
Yeah. And again, you've helped them all. Helped everyone. I've seen 1 million patients, and I've helped them all. No, that's different. Even Dr. Ken is actually my doctor, and he's helped me with my PTSD, although not on a level of any comparison. But PTSD at all is awesome. It's just awful. You don't want to suffer from it. I'm telling you, it is not something, and it can happen. Like you said, it can be a car accident that you were in. It can be something that you don't think bothered you many, many years ago. I mean, I've got a life of trauma and tragedy that I just buried. Was like, yeah, everything's okay. I can handle it. I'm a survivor. And then eventually, boom, everything goes to hell. You know, one little thing will trigger it. And my big trigger usually is all of the 9/11 rebroadcasts. So, sorry.
I remember that.
Yeah, we all remember that. But every time I hear any of the rebroadcasts of the people screaming or any of that, and it just starts bringing it back. I'm starting to sweat right now in public. So anyway, let me calm myself down. And Dr. Ken, I want you to say, you told me you speak to a lot of people who like Donna. And what do you think about this book so far? I mean, what you're hearing? I think it's great myself.
I think it's a fantastic way to relieve yourself from a lot of the stress that you suffer. Journaling is a wonderful way of putting things into perspective, because you can always go back and add more to it. I always suggest that people leave a blank page in between days when they do their writing, because you're going to go back and remember things. And even if you only put a couple more lines in there, at least you're getting more and more out. There's a philosophy in psychology that if you take it from the brain and move it down through the muscle memory and throw it onto a page, it no longer belongs to you. It's like Donna, you no longer own your book. You wrote it, but now it's out there in the free world, and people are paying to read this. So it no longer actually belongs to you. It's poetry, it's art. Once the artist creates it, it's not theirs. It's not inside them anymore. And that in itself can be very relieving. So, even if you don't go and write a book like Donna did, if you journal stuff down, and even if you just want to, when you're completely done with it, ball it up, throw it away, or light it on fire and send it up. There are ways to get rid of it, and that's one of the better ways. I think it's just fantastic.
It's extraordinarily cathartic. Cathartic.
It really, I agree. I agree with both of you so much. You cannot, folks, for you listening out there, you can't just push everything down and not talk to somebody. There has to be a way to either with your buddies get it out in the open, get the feelings out, and like you said, it's like it's like it just kind of goes up in the air, and everybody hears it, and it's like, it doesn't have as much weight anymore. But you carry that weight with you when you don't share and get that feeling off your chest and have somebody who understands it go through it and break it down and peel it back for you.
And I think for me, and I'm sure other people can relate to this in similar ways, is that, every time I've had of course, there's a bunch of reviews online on Amazon and whatever. And some of them are just heartwarming. But the ones that touch me the most are the ones that I get sent privately, because someone is in that spot. They're in that storm. They're not willing to go on a public page and write a review, but they will find me on Facebook or social media. They will back channel me and tell me that it gave them the courage to go get help. And that's where the title came in. It's because, you self-identify as broken. But when you find that courage to finally ask for help, it's really when you make full circle. So, I've told people, I'm like, look, I refuse to believe that I have gone through all the crap in my life for what? For nothing? So why not help other people with it? Right. And that's where, it took some guts to put some of my skeletons out there, and some people are going to judge, and that's fine. I had to, when I did this, I said to myself, as long as it's helping people, I don't care what the naysayers say. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, haven't had that many, if any, naysayers that I know of. But I've had a tremendous amount of positive. And it makes me feel so good. And it's healing for me to know that I can help other people with the crap that I've experienced.
So
same. Yeah. Having the similar experience of having a plan and carrying it out to the point of almost execution. I can tell you, and even though it happened back in 1988 for me, I can still remember the coldness. I can still remember the taste of the barrel until the phone rang.
So, as I read this, you left. This is about you leaving a small town and an abusive father. Is that correct? That's your story.
Small town and abusive family. Yeah, that was.
You went into.
I joined the Navy for two reasons. One, I was fourth generation Navy. Everybody in my family had been in the Navy. I'd always heard wonderful stories about, adventures overseas and things like that. So there was that part of it, but there was also the part of there was absolutely no future where I was. I had a paranoid schizophrenic father who was extraordinarily abusive. My mom had been stuck in an abusive marriage for years, and I grew up wondering, why does she stay? Why can't we leave? And she never left out of fear. That was the reason. She never left until I was actually an adult and out of the Navy. And it was because she had me to come to help her. Because at that point I was an adult. But anyway, so yeah, I came from an abusive, I guess it was abusive childhood. Traumatic. I don't want to say traumatic though, more of a dysfunctional childhood. Went into the Navy, my dream come true, and right out of boot camp A school, I go to my first duty station. And I was there 2 months, and that's when the rape happened. And I was an E nothing, and he was an E6, which is a pretty big difference, right?
Way up.
And he told me, I'm an E6, you're an E nothing. Nobody knows you. Nobody's going to believe you over me. You're best to keep your mouth shut. And I did. And then I went on to work with a SEAL unit, and that was somebody looking out for me, because that was probably the best place for me to go. Because those guys adopted me as their little sister. I felt it took a while to earn my trust, but once they did, I was part of the team. I was their sister. And to this day, 30 years later, like I just got back from California this morning, and I stayed at my old CO's house while I was in San Diego. 30 years later, we're all so tight. We're family.
Yep.
So yeah.
So in an effort to help erase the stigma of PTSD, and hopefully we can encourage anyone out there who's struggling to get some help. D.A. Donna Michaels, wrote this book, Courageously Broken. It is available to you, courageously.broken.com. Where can we find you on social media, Donna?
I am under, I'm so glad you asked me that. I'm under D.A. Michaels under mostly everything. Please, to the listeners, do not Google me as Donna Michaels. I'm begging, because there is another author, and she writes hot, steamy romance novelists about commandos and cowboys. And I swear to God, it's not
cowboys and steamy romance. No, D.A. Michaels. Got it. Okay.
D.A. Michaels.
Making another mental note, though. Okay, D.A. Michaels. Dr. Vehec, how do we get a hold of you?
Hey, my email address is dr.ken@att.net.
Yes.
Phone number 407-760-6269, or come see me at the VFW post on Goldenrod here in Orlando.
That's where you're working out of now, the VFW.
Yeah. I know exactly where that is. That's my old zone.
How about that?
Oh, yeah?
See? Yeah. It's Old Home Week on Connection. That's fantastic. Oh, I hear the music playing. That means we got to go. But it's been a great time. I mean, the topic, awesome. When we talk about PTSD, I don't mean awesome. What I do mean is this entire conversation. And the people that are here with me tonight have been incredible. Thank you for sharing your story. And courageouslybroken.com, courageouslybroken.com. D.A. Michaels, thank you so much. Dr. Ken Vehec, you rock.
Thank you so much.
You got it. We'll see you guys later. It's been a wonderful show. You've been listening to Connections.
Laughing time is over.
There you have it, boys. Case closed.
You've been listening to Connections. Find tonight's show and replays of our past shows on ConnectionsShow.com.